Hit the record button here. Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Apps and Tools call. I just gave a few minutes for people to get started here. Um, so today I have a pretty light agenda, although I think Patrick McElwee, are you from RPI?
No, I'm also here from Duke.
Oh, from Duke. I apologize.
And I just also want to say it looks like the implementation fest here starts on the 18th, that
Okay.
Tuesday, March
Okay.
18th,
Fantastic.
going through Friday.
I had tried to arrange a demo from Patrick at RPI, and I apologize. I forgot his last name. I thought you might have been that Patrick. But if he's not here, I have some other interesting stuff to show you guys today. But I'll get to that in just a second. So right now, it looks like we're getting more firm on the dates for the um, implementation fest. Thank you, our hosts at Duke. And we had a call last week, and we talked about the preparations, and it looks like we're getting close to pretty solid. It looks like it's going to be Tuesday, March 18th. For the hackathon, and then the implementation fest will run 19th to the 21st, which is Wednesday through Friday. So, the topics will be for the implementation fest. It looks like there will be a technical track and a policy track, kind of mirror implementation fest in the past. The policy track will talk about what it takes to implement a Vivo at a university or a large organization from a policy standpoint. And then the technical track will talk about things like data ingest and, messy data issues and a lot of things that other institutions have faced. We've here at the University of Florida faced many issues with trying to use our PeopleSoft system, for example, to map data into Vivo and use it as a data source. So there'll be some valuable information there. And then the hackathon will be a primarily most of the day Tuesday, but then again, looks like we're going to have a space to keep a space open for the hackathon on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as well. So there'll be a place for the teams to get together during the implementation fest if they want to continue working, and then on Friday we're going to have a final 5-minute presentation from each team on what they had accomplished. We're not going to have we're not going to have specific requirements for the hackathon, but we are going to talk about some of the things that the community. So we've been gathering feedback from the community and trying to group those into topics so that we can give the hackers some kind of topics on ideas that the community would like, so that if they do write an application or something, that it would have a ready adoption from a community of people. So, for example, some of the things we talked about are faceted search, visualizations, open social widgets, Vivo Mobile, Vivo dashboards, CV and biosketch generation, integration with services like Google Docs, Dropbox. I think there's a lot of interest out there in general with using Vivo data to interact with other web services or other web tools. So that's just kind of a general idea. Um, that's kind of my update about the implementation fest and the hackathon. So I'm opening it up this time to any comments, any suggestions, any proposals.
So that's as specific as you want to get, Chris?
No, I'd be happy to give some more use cases or examples.
No,
But
in terms of, well, you put out some ideas, but is there an idea that the community feels would be most helpful?
there seems to still be quite a bit of when I talk to different people, and John Corson Riker and I talk every week. There's still quite a few people interested in making Vivo search better, and it wasn't as much. It used to be talking about trying to search across Vivos. Now it's more of a people's Vivos are getting so loaded with data that it's hard to search within their own Vivo. So I think, Paul, you had talked about faceted search, and I've talked to several other people that have talked about different ideas. Search with a visualization, for example. There's a guy here that has an idea where he wants to make a visualization that lets him search visually. So as he clicks on nodes and some kind of visualization or network map, it keeps refining it and searching and helping him navigate, for example. So search is a big one. Another one is CV and biosketches. People really want to get those out of our system, and the we've been using the one developed by the mini grant, which was really great a couple years ago, but it's kind of gotten slower, and it needs to be reworked or retooled. So I think people are really interested in if they put their data in Vivo, they want to be able to get it out.
And then, well, I got two comments on that. The first is that you might have seen an email I sent that Science CV
Yep.
does generate a biosketch
Yep.
using manually input data for everything but publications. And if you put in your publications, it'll generate the list of publications in biosketch format.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, there's no waiting, or you give an email and you get emailed the results. So it's pretty nice. I think that's ultimate. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, well, just provide your email and we'll send it to you," but I don't think that that is a long-term solution.
I agree, and I talked to John this week about Science CV, and he said, "Well, it looks like it's a good idea. The problem that they may have is they don't have data sources. They don't have data. People will have to manually enter their CV and biosketch information in again. And on top of that, the pubs
Right.
links are not covering any of the social sciences. So, for
That's
example,
true.
here we mine our Thomson Reuters, and other people are using the um, other systems to get publications in. So, I mean, it may. I mean, I wish them all the best of luck, but it may be tough because it'll be harder for people to use. I still think that personally here at Florida, with the amount of data that we have in that comes in through automated ingests, that we would, we're still probably going to develop something that spits a better formatted CV and biosketch out of our system, out of our Vivo.
I totally agree. I was just using that to illustrate that they've managed to figure out near instant um, biosketch generation. So
Oh
maybe
yeah, I
we could
mean,
do the same.
it kind of goes along with the thing that I was going to talk about today. I was going to give a quick demo on pulling triples or data out of MySQL directly. One of the problems that we're having, Paul, specifically with biosketch generation, is the Sparkle queries take too long to run, and we've had everybody look at them, and it's just kind of the nature of how Sparkle works and the implementation on our endpoint. And some of them, for the profiles that have a lot of triples, it really takes a long time. So uh it's one of those things where we don't want to deconstruct the semantic data in order to make the execution faster, but we just have to come up with a different way, because we can't we I don't think we can generate the CV with Sparkle alone, at least not yet. I don't know. That's the challenge that we're facing.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
Uh, I totally agree with you. And yes, people want to get the data out of Vivo, particularly the biosketch information. And when I had implemented biosketch on our system, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the queries were taking way too long, particularly if someone had a large amount of publications that they wrote. And we had a user that single-handedly crashed the system because he repeatedly pressed the biosketch button because he was getting impatient. So yeah, whatever we could do to kind of either work around the queries or make them, I don't know,
Well, we have
it needs to be
tried
addressed.
to we have tried several different approaches to try and make them more efficient. And the feedback I get is they're as efficient as they're going to be. So if we
Oh,
depend on
great.
that method, it's not going to work. So one of the things that we're looking at doing is trying to figure out a way to get that data in a different way. One of the things we're looking at is using um, PYRDF and a single N3 file that we could load and have it on a regular basis, and then use a different method to generate the output. Um, some other methods are trying to looking at, not, I wouldn't call it pre-computing, but pre-compiling, meaning taking the data and loading it into SQL tables on a regular basis so we can extract it out. So there's lots of things that we're looking at doing, but we definitely think that people are interested in getting their biosketch and their CV. We hear it from end users a lot. We had to, yeah, Tammy. We had a similar horror story. We have ours enabled, but we have blocks. We have like Apache rules and blocks on all of the major search engines from trying to get to those pages because it would crash our Vivo.
Mm-hmm.
So
Does
yeah,
the solar, Chris, does the solar index have all the data necessary to generate a biosketch?
I would love to answer that question, but I have no idea. I'm not a solar expert, but I've heard people talk about solar like it should have the data, right?
I think Miles is working on that dashboard for us in a couple weeks, and he seems to be pretty. I don't know if it would be useful in this case, but
Well, if you get a
let's
chance to
see.
interact with him, if you could ask him to say, "Hey, we had a question on this call I was on that could you load a solar index with enough of the data to be able to generate a biosketch or a CV or something that's a close approximation?"
Okay,
That would be
yeah,
cool.
I'll talk to him.
I know he's been working with them for a long time, so his Vivo Searchlight stuff is pretty neat.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
That's what Widgets does load solar, like use the same, well, different core, the same solar instance, and we load basically data from Sparkle queries into the solar instance. That's what powers widgets, Vivo widgets that we have. So.
We have and right now it stores everything you need to show a profile actually.
All right.
Wow. So how often? So is the index updated dynamically? I mean, how often do you load the solar index with data from new Sparkle queries?
Each night we load ours, but one of the things we wanted to add, and it would just be a hook into adding a listener. Originally, I wrote a listener for Vivo itself. Vivo was updated to push an update over to widgets, but we're going to add ability to have a listener that would listen for changes to your Jenna model, I guess, and then push those over to widgets and have widgets update. Any URIs that come through would trigger an update for that person that URI is associated with. So, and widgets is very focused on the person. Like basically a document contains a big JSON blob that has pretty much all or most of the data for an individual. So,
I'm silent, Richard. I'm listening. I'm trying to get this in the notes.
Okay. So I mean that's an example. I mean solar would be, I think, really fast to do it. We haven't yet. We don't have as, I don't think. Well, I know we don't. We don't have as much data as Florida, so I don't know what it would take or how long to reindex the whole thing. But ours takes probably less than an hour or so to reindex it each night.
Okay.
So.
I'll have to take a look into that.
Just to be clear, if somebody makes a change or you ingest data, in the afternoon, it wouldn't necessarily show up.
Right, it doesn't show up until the next day. The one thing I was saying we'd like, and it's on our list to add. We're probably going to add it when we start looking at 1.6 when 1.6 has the incremental solar updates. Is at that point add the hook in, add the listener in to tell solar to update the solar index for Vivo, and then also to tell widgets to update widgets for that URI or that set of URIs. So that's not there yet. But.
So have you, Richard, have you put any of this stuff out on GitHub or anywhere like that? Any of the code you're using to load solar or any of the?
Yeah, it's out on GitHub. It's actually, if you look for Vivo widgets, it's there. And when you start the app up and running, it's kind of like, I think I'm trying to remember the original. I think that's what we do it now, right? We hit a URL. Basically, you can hit a URL you set up a username and password, and that'll kick off the reindex of the solar. And
So our cron job is just a curl to a URL of local host that it kicks it off. But yeah,
Oh, very cool.
The most recent stuff is on GitHub.
Yeah, most recent. There might be some changes we've made since, like we added an alternate ID because we want to be able to query people out of widgets, not just by their URI, but also by what we have here called the Duke Unique. But in widgets, I just called it an alternate ID. I don't think that has been pushed to GitHub yet, but definitely the indexing part of it and a lot of the other code to pull it out is there. So.
And are you hitting the? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at your README here.
And that I was realizing, I think I was talking to Georgia Tech about it. I made a note on one of my things to look at was look at the README again, because that may have been updated some.
Okay.
That may be out of date, so I'm going to say it that way.
Well, cool. Well, that gives me a good place to start. It's pretty awesome. Well, thank you guys. So, any other? I could go. I'm resisting the urge to just start asking questions to help solve my problem, but I'm supposed to be talking about the hackathon.
Chris, do you want to do you want to have like one big project, or say like these are 2 or 3 projects that we think might be useful?
Well, I'm in my experience with the previous hackathon and other kind of events that I've been to before, I'm hoping to not give any specific everyone will work on this project. What we're hoping is that the teams self-organize, and the only reason we're giving, they don't have to work on any of the themes that I bring up at all. What we're hoping to do is just kind of give them a sense of what the community is into. If anybody that shows up at the hackathon decides to work on something completely different, that's okay too. I mean, I've had talks with John. We talked about it on the developer call, and it seems to be the general consensus is don't constrain the hackers. So, sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just think that I'm not a hacker myself, but sometimes just having a list of requirements really helps. At the very least, someone say, no, that's a bad idea, and it really kind of focuses their ideas rather than saying like, what I'm arguing for is the importance of doing a little legwork ahead of time to specify some requirements and so forth.
Do we have anybody got any thoughts on Paul's idea?
I think that I agree with Paul, and also I think it gives a chance for people who might want to work on the same thing to get together and chat a little bit before the actual meeting, so that you can be productive while you're together.
So, do you guys have any thoughts on how to do that, or how to organize that, or how to execute it? I mean, what are you thinking? How would you present that to the group of hackers?
Well, what if we took your list here and came up with a couple that we thought were important, and then people could self-assign themselves to those, and even if it's just a paragraph or 4 or 5 bullet points, and then those people would be responsible for generating requirements or pointing to cases where something works well, sites to emulate, whatever.
So get I'm trying to put your idea in the notes here. So be able to send use cases to hackers before hackathon. Okay, I wrote something. I don't think that's what you meant, but is that close? So be able to send use cases to hackers before the hackathon so they could do legwork and on the ideas or join as teams before the event.
Yeah, close enough. Um, I guess maybe the next step would be to I mean, I know you don't want to constrain the hackers, but I mean, we could just come up with 2 or 3 that we thought were worthy of their efforts. Um, would now be the right time to come up with a tentative list?
Well, that's kind of what I've been trying to do. I think at some point, the implementation planning committee is going to send out a formal announcement. And so I'm hoping sometime in January to send out a flyer. Basically, what I'm thinking of is making a flyer for the hackathon, writing up a kind of a one-page kind of a marketing piece on why people should come to the hackathon. So that would probably be where I would put in the ideas of things that we thought would be. I'm really hoping, honestly, Paul and Ted, I'm really hoping that some of these ideas that we put out there, people are already working on. And that the hackathon is a good excuse for them to come and share their ideas with other similar minded people. But I get your point, and I don't have an answer, but I'm thinking about it. How do we identify those people beforehand and get them to get in contact with each other and kind of be as uber productive as they can at the hackathon? So I get it. I guess that's why I've had this as a standing agenda item for a couple meetings, because I'm trying to get the ideas, trying to get it out there, see what people are working on.
Well, I don't want to enforce my perspective, but if it were up to me, we'd come up with our list of projects,
Okay.
put them in a table, and then people could vote on their importance. Put them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So as a list of projects that we would make the teams work on, or as a list of projects is just to have our working group determine here's the order of importance for these issues. Like I've got them unordered.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all very conscious of the hackers aren't being paid and their time is freely given, and they ultimately get to decide what they work on. But if we can just come up with these are the ones that the community seems to be most interested in, or maybe we send out a matrix, a survey or something like that, where we say here's a brief description of 4 projects, and could you please rate these in order of priority, like between 1 and 5, something like that.
So kind of here's what the community thinks is I like the idea of developing a survey.
And then what we could do is allow people to volunteer to do a little bit of legwork, not that much, ahead of time. So let's say that you think CV BioSketch is important. Well, you're willing to write up the use case a little bit, maybe put a little bit of thought into the proper one avenue for pursuing this.
Okay, so let's say we executed a survey, we found out what the top 10 ideas are, see if we can get volunteers to help write up use cases for each idea and be able to circulate before the hackathon. Okay. Sure. Does that sound about what you're... And then maybe if those people are willing to volunteer to write up the use cases, maybe they're also the kind of people that are volunteering to write code for them. Yeah. Okay. Looks good. Someone added and potential approaches for the top. Yep. Okay. Any ideas of any other communities to reach out to? I mean, I've been sending all my meeting announcements and things to the Vivo implementation and Vivo dev list, but I have a feeling like I'm preaching to the choir. Does anybody have any ideas of any other groups or mailing lists or places where we could market this survey / hackathon to? I've thought about sending it out to the W3C semantic web list.
That sounds like a good idea.
Possibly the code for lib list.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I always forget that one. It's code for lib, right? Yes, I always forget it because I'm not part of a library. I always forget the library-oriented groups. Any other library folks out there? I know Code for Lib is huge. They have their own conference, right, Nicholas?
Yeah, they do.
Any other ideas? Anybody would like to help with the survey?
I'm out for a stretch, but I can help you, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's about to be Christmas break. It's not like we're going to be doing a lot of Christmas break, but I'm hoping to, just as a little housekeeping here, the next call I was planning on having it on either we're scheduled to have it either on January 7th or January 21st. So I was going to take a impromptu survey here and say, would you guys rather wait till the 21st or do you want to have one on the 7th?
21st sounds good to us.
Yeah, I figured people are usually probably out the first week of January too. So, all right, so I'm going to make it the 21st. So I'll try to have a draft by that meeting, Paul, and then maybe you can help me refine it.
Sure. Or you could just call, we could set up a time to talk and we could work on it together if you want.
Oh, cool. Awesome. You like Google Hangout?
I do.
Okay, cool. Sherry, do you see any problems with us not having an announcement for the hackathon until the end of January?
I don't know. What do you think, Richard?
That should probably be fine, I think. I mean, you might want to check with Julia as well.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have. I don't think we're gonna have anything until then. Richard, they haven't sent out a formal announcement for the implementation fest, have they?
I haven't seen anything. We were just saying that we thought we got more from you than we've heard here. So
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's kind of Julia and her group. It's kind of.
Oh, I apologize, Sherry. I'm sorry. I confused you with Julia. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I was wondering if maybe you were thinking of Julia.
So so they were on the planning call. They had a planning call last Tuesday, and so they're finalizing the dates. The people from Colorado that have held it the last 2 years in a row are kind of helping organize, and they're not uber far ahead. They've pretty much decided on the dates. They're still hammering out the tracks, and I imagine sometime in January they'll have a. They're supposed to have a. This is the track. These are the speakers. This is what we're going to do. They're pretty much trying to decide between really hands-on workshop-y type things or presentations, or what mixture of both. I'm a big fan of more of a workshop, open thing. We're trying not to have a conference. This is supposed to be like-minded people getting together and asking questions and helping each other. So I'm hoping that's the way it's going to go. I know that's how it's going to be for the hackathon. The whole idea for the hackathon is that I'm going to try and develop some, hopefully with Ted Lawless's help, I'm going to develop some Vivo tools, some Vagrant. So basically create virtual machines of Vivos with some test data, and set that up. Spend the first maybe hour getting people all set up so they have a Vivo with data in it to play with, and then also creating a 5-page PowerPoint type presentation template with prompts, with writing prompts, so that each group will be required every day, or at least the end of the first day and on Friday, to give a mini presentation of only 5 minutes, 1 minute per slide, on what their idea is, what it's about, why it's important to the community, and what they expect their results to be. So that's the structure at this point. I do like the idea. I to be honest with you, I was still kind of nervous about how there weren't any general ideas. So I do appreciate it, even though I sound like I'm a devil's advocate. I do appreciate Paul and Ted, that you guys are like, we should have more structure around what are the ideas that people could work on, and get them working on them ahead of time, or getting them interested ahead of time. So I think a survey and sending out a matrix is a good idea. So Richard, they volunteered you to buy all the food for the hackathon.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. I told him we need lots of Mountain Dew and Snickers. That's about the keep them wide awake.
Not Cheerwine here in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, Cheerwine. They've just started selling that down here.
Oh yeah.
For all you Northerners, that's a special type of soda that's only made in the Carolinas, right?
Yeah, I think it originated Winston-Salem area.
So that's it for the for that. I won't beat that to death unless anybody else has any ideas about the hackathon. Does anybody think they will have any problems attending the hackathon or coming to the implementation fest? Does everyone here plan on coming?
Yeah, we should be there.
I would hope
form
so.
of us that do. I don't know which one, but I'm just kidding.
Well, cool. We'll start making your plans now. So I didn't get the demonstration today, but I thought this may be old hat to everyone here on this call, but Eliza sent a FYI across to the Vivo mailing list this week saying, hey, just in case anyone didn't know it, you can actually query the Vivo database directly and get something meaningful. And so she sent along this query, and basically you can see she's pulling out things from this table called nodes and quads, these two tables, and she's spitting out URIs and the actual name of people. So I went to try and run this on my Vivo because I was all excited, and of course I did not get the same result. And it took me a second to realize that it looks like Weil prepends their individual number with the word person if it's a person. I don't know, is anybody else here doing that? Because we're not. Yes. So
We do.
Go ahead.
Oh, we do. We have we prepend it with something.
Yeah, we pretty much prepend everything with a little slug that indicates what general sort of thing it is.
Interesting. So you guys, for different types. So if this was a org or something, you might have that on there.
Yeah, we have org in front.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
A lot of our unique IDs get built out of things that we know from our other systems of record, and that just helps us prevent a collision as unlikely as it would be, just in case that the combination from one source we loaded from and another happened to be the same thing. So this stops that. We do prefix per source, basically, that we live in Vivo.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So I think that's a huge topic for discussion on like another call. I'll have to write that down. I don't know why we never developed that here, but we pretty much use the default N number. So every one of our URIs, whether it's a person or any other object, just starts with N and then has some unique integer on the end of it. So, which I want to say is the default for Vivo. I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. So anyway, what I wanted to show you guys was that and maybe this isn't very unique, but I had modified Eliza's query to work with a generic Vivo, which only had N numbers. Now you don't get the people specified, but I'm going to swipe the screen here and see if you guys can see it. This is our staging server. Move this. Can everybody see this? Holler if you can't.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, the real change had to be this regular expression here where she was pulling out any of the people, which I guess would work pretty neat for Duke if you guys could put, where I highlighted the N here, you could put in org or whatever. But we have generic ones. So I'm going to have to figure out how to link it to the table to get types back. But I'll figure that out. But anyway, I thought it was pretty neat that I was able to pretty quickly pull out a URI and the RDFS label, which was pretty neat. As you can see, I got people. This is a course from our courses. This is an authorship. So I got all the wacky stuff. This is an organization. But the cool thing for me was I was able to take this URI and go over to our Vivo. And there's the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center. It's a center. So, I don't know if that's interesting for people. It's interesting for me because, like I said, we're trying to work on faster, more efficient ways to get data out of our system to generate things like the CVs and things. So, although I will take a look at the solar index stuff, I got this out pretty fast. So I got the top 100 rows in 17 seconds, and I think I got 6.9 million rows in there. So it did a top 100 fairly fast. So I may be looking at this as a method of pulling out all my triples to create my all.n3 file. I may also be looking at it as a way to create RDF in N3 format for other purposes to be able to manipulate data outside of our triple store. That was it. That was my big presentation. But I thought it was pretty neat. And then I know Eliza's not on the call, but thanks to Eliza for sending that out because I knew that she'd sent out something like that before. I knew there were some examples before, but it was just kind of timely that I had just started thinking about it again about pulling stuff directly out of the MySQL database. And lo and behold, Eliza sent something to the list. So. Cool.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Do you think you would have to re-implement some of the things that Jenna is doing for you by going directly to the database?
Well, I think you would if I was going to use it to do updates or deletes or things like that. You probably would be re-implementing Jenna stuff. I'm really looking at a shortcut for pulling it out. So I don't know. I mean, everybody's told me to look at some of the Jenna command line things. That's on my list of stuff too. But this was I guess I would probably lean toward this only because I'm better at SQL than I am at Jenna.
Right.
So
yeah, I'd be curious to hear how it ends up working out. This is a good way to pull it out.
Yeah, well, my ultimate goal is to create an all.n3 file, which has every one of our triples in subject, predicate, object order spit out into one N3 file.
Okay.
And I've been trying to do that in a bunch of different ways with Sparkle, and I've been not having very much success. So,
Cool.
one of the other things I've been trying to do is to think about creating a JSON file, a JSON, individual. So you could actually see if you could load our whole data set as an object and do some JSON-y stuff with it.
Right.
So, those are the kind of ideas that I want to be able to get it out and manipulate it external to our triple store without having to use Jenna. That's the other kind of thing. I've talked informally to some people, and they dislike Jenna as much as I do because they think it limits them on what they can do.
Right.
And I know that the Vivo core people, for example, one of the things that they're looking at this, and this is a short-lived thing too, because I know that John has told me that at some point they're trying to move away from a particular triple store and make Vivo triple store agnostic. So I don't know how soon that's going to happen.
Triple store.
What's that?
They use a native triple store? Rather than using a relational database, I need to use a native triple store?
I think so, and then make it so that you can store your triples in any make it so that you can connect to, I don't know. I don't know the other names of the ones they would use.
Yeah, that's already been implemented. Not sure anyone's using it in production, but you can connect Vivo to a Sparkle endpoint that will accept Sparkle updates. So you're not tied to using Jenna with SDB like the default Vivo installation works.
John was saying, though, that they still are tied to SDB because they do have some of the separate graphs that have the users in it. So even if you did use the method they have now, where all your updates through a triple store, you'd still have all your users, the admin users, I think, in a local SDB store.
Yeah, that's right. So you'd still need to run MySQL for users.
Yep. But John was telling me that their next step is to make that all completely go away, to stop using SDB altogether. They just don't know what they're going to do with that whole user paradigm yet. So that's my presentation. Anybody got any other business? What are you working on these days, Ted?
Oh, we've some faculty are testing the system, so I'm just kind of responding to issues that arise with that.
Are you building any apps, or you're pretty much still trying to get into production?
Yeah, just sort of focused on release early next year and doing some work on publication disambiguation when we have free time.
Have you looked at using any of the Harvard profiles, the disambiguation service that Eric Meeks was talking about last week?
Yeah, I just Paul had told me about that a while ago, so last week I looked at it again and was experimenting with it. I think Eric had mentioned that the current service runs against PubMed, and I thought Eric mentioned that they have one that runs against Web of Science too, so I'd like to hear more about that if it does exist.
Yeah, that would definitely be big. I have something that may be interesting coming up if I can get Mike to do a demo of it. But basically, we have a new Python ingest tool that can go out to, if you've got the PMID on there, it will go out to PubMed and get all these other details about the publication, including abstracts and linked grants, and come back and populate your Vivo profile with it. So just kind of a to-come. The whole idea for us is we want to get that data associated with our profiles. And then we want to make some of the publication abstract links searchable, so we're going to bring the text back, so we can add those keywords to our profiles.
Yeah, definitely be interested in seeing that too.
What about you, Tammy? How are things at Stony Brook? You guys working on any interesting stuff? How are Eric and Janos?
Oh, they're good. Um, yeah, just busy as always. Had to take a small departure from my Vivo work for the Stony Brook Medicine site to work on some EDM site for our internal customers over here, and just trying to get that done and get that out of the way so I could get back to this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the apps and tools stuff that we've been doing so far? Have you had a chance to read back or see any of the videos?
Um, I haven't, so that's why I jumped on today's call. I haven't, so hoping I could kind of catch up a little bit. But yeah, I'll look back on the videos.
Yes, I'm shamelessly promoting our working group by recording the calls and posting them on YouTube. So. Which John Corson Reichert was telling me, he was like he loves that whole thing. So, but yeah, there's some neat. We got Ted Lawless's presentations up there, and there's some other ones too that are pretty interesting.
Cool.
Well, unless anybody's got everything else, we could call it an early day and an early meeting. And I would love to wish everyone a happy holidays. And I feel sorry for you guys up in the Northeast. I know you got a lot of snow right now, and us down here in
Yes.
the South are kind of, we're enjoying the sun.
You're lucky.
Yes, we are. That's why I don't live in Buffalo anymore.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot again. Have a happy holidays. Remember, the next call will be on January 21st, 2014.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
Chris.
thanks.
You too.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.